Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday, September 27th, 2023. My name is Mariam Rahman. On behalf of VMUG, I'd like to welcome you to today's Tenzig Webcast, Final Countdown, Key Blast Extreme, and PCoIP Updates for Horizon, presented by Kevin Greenway, CTO of Tenzig, and Rob Beekmans, Senior Competitive Technical Manager of VMware. Before we begin, I have 3 quick housekeeping items to go over. First, today's webcast will be recorded and available for you on demand. You will receive an email with the on-demand link, so keep an eye out for that. Second, a Q&A session will follow today's presentation. If we still have time, all questions will need to be entered in the question and answer section on the side. Please feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation. We love to answer questions throughout. Third, there will be a short online evaluation that pops up as you exit the webcast. Please take a minute and let us know what you thought of today's session and what you might like to see going forward. And as a reminder, all attendees who opted in their information at registration will be entered into a raffle to win a $100 Amazon gift card. The winner will be contacted directly by Tenzig. And with that, let's get started. Kevin and Rob, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Mariam. And thanks everybody for joining us today. I'm Kevin and this is Rob, and we're both going to be presenting some key Blast Extreme and PCoIP updates for VMware Horizon users. So just to give a moment just to introduce ourselves today, and Rob, I'll let you lead first.
Okay, Rob Beekmans. I work as Senior Competitive Technical Manager in VMware's technical marketing team. So I do competitive marketing, and well, that's about it. I work at VMware now for 1.5 years. I joined from Citrix, and before that I was a consultant for many years.
Awesome. Yeah, we've paved many pathways together, haven't we? So thanks for that, Rob. So I'm Kevin Greenway. I'm the CTO at Tenzig. I've worked in IT for about 25 years now, kind of from a support and product managed background for different technology vendors. And I've worked for Tenzig now for 11 years. And as mentioned, worked with Rob in many past ventures. Most recently, we actually did a sort of snippet of this session at VMware Explore in Las Vegas. So look forward to repeating it again today and tweaking it and adding this nice cool demo, hopefully, that we have today. So let's get started. So as mentioned, just sort of some housekeeping on the Tenzig side. For those that aren't already aware, Tenzig are a thin and zero client vendor. We're headquartered in Phoenix, Arizona, with our EMEA head office based in the UK, which is where I'm based, not so sunny today. And what makes us different is we're a solely focused thin and zero client vendor, and we're fairly unique in this day and age of offering both the endpoint hardware and software all under one roof. We're a founding VMware Ready partner, and we've witnessed the evolution of VMware Horizon protocols, including today's topic on Blast Extreme and PCoIP. And our customers typically choose Tenzig due to not just our great product offering, but also excellent support, which is resonated through our testimonials and case studies. And just before we dive into today's topic, we just want to spend a short time focusing on our VMware Ready endpoints and how they align to today's topic. So on our homegrown endpoints, we focus primarily on a Linux-based platform for our thin and zero clients, as well as where applicable Windows 10 IoT. And all of this is offered on a wide range of form factor options, including traditional standalone thin clients, all-in-ones, and more recently laptops. And due to the adoption rate of Blast Extreme over the past several years, our focus has been on Intel and AMD processors, whilst we are also a long-standing partner of Teradici on the PCoIP side of things, and we'll be sharing some updates on that side today. More recently, we've seen the need for organizations to adopt our lightweight, secure, and managed repurposing software, Tenzig Repurpose. And this is both designed to run on older hardware for extending life, as well as newer hardware such as laptops for bringing them into the same ecosystem and offering the same user experience that we offer on our own Tenzig-based endpoints. And both the repurposing software, Repurpose and Tenzig Manager, are offered for free and able to offer endpoints which support all of today's updates in Blast Extreme and PCoIP. So we're just going to start with a quick poll. If everybody attending could kindly participate in this, please. It's just to understand, who we have in the audience and what sort of endpoints we have on array. I'll give it just a few seconds, and then I'll view the result. Right, looks like the polls are still coming in. Thanks for everybody's participation in this. It really helps. I think we've given that long enough now. So let me just push that result to the audience. So you can see that's a good split. It looks like we've got a good split of actually 60% of users on PCs and laptops, 47% on thin clients, 11% on Terra 2 based zero clients, and then about sort of just shy of 17% on other zero clients. So thanks again for that participation. So without further ado, let's dig into the weeds and focus on the topic today. And VMware Horizon offers protocols of choice, as I mentioned before, and dependent on factors including use case and the hardware and software available, we see a mixture of both PCoIP and Blast Extreme in use today. PCoIP was adopted by VMware back in 2009, and at that time it was VMware View and specifically version 4. PCoIP is a proprietary protocol and it's produced by Teradici, now under the HP brand, and PCoIP can operate both on proprietary and general purpose hardware. Blast Extreme evolved from the earlier Blast Extreme protocol, and that was, whilst Blast Extreme was introduced around 2016, Blast has been around for in the region of 10 years, as Rob will cover in his part. So Blast Extreme is based on a combination of industry standard video and imaging codecs, and one of the great benefits of Blast Extreme is it can operate well on general purpose hardware thanks to its hardware decode support on most relatively modern hardware. And one of the main reasons we're here today is to cover the recent announcement made by VMware back in March this year, which surrounds end of life and end of support of PCoIP within the VMware Horizon ecosystem. And as you can see on this slide, the end of life is announced at the end of 2025, and then the end of support is cited at the end of 2028. So this announcement comes mostly due to the great evolution and adoption of Blast Extreme since its introduction and the wide hardware support thanks to its, again, general purpose hardware support. But as discussed, why is this relevant today? So 2 years and 5 years respectively seem like a ways off, but we all know how fast time shifts. I mean, look at the time that we lost in COVID, for instance, whether it was 2 years or 3 years, depending on how strict your country's lockdown was. So companies need to start thinking for the future now, really. And one key decision process comes from what you might be using today as your choice of remoting protocol and endpoint hardware. So for instance, if you're using general purpose x86 hardware, such as Intel or AMD, then the chances are you can make the switch to Blast Extreme pretty easily. But if you're using something like proprietary hardware in Terra 2 clients, then a key point today is that type of hardware supports PCoIP only. And as you can see on the slide, there's approximately 3.5 million Terra 2 devices sold globally. So there are a lot of folks and organizations out here, and probably some in the audience today, who have a decision to make across the next few years. And this session is really going to discuss the evolution of Blast Extreme, and also then a new update which was announced at VMware Explore in technical preview support for the next generation of PCoIP, which is PCoIP Ultra. So Rob's going to initially cover some key updates on Blast Extreme. Then we'll touch into a demo to demonstrate some of those features. And then finally, I will give some updates on PCoIP Ultra and that VMware Horizon integration. So this session hopefully should give you a good takeaway to arm you with enough information to then plan for that switch and plan as necessary to your requirements and your environment. So with that, I'll hand over to you, Rob.
Thank you. So you covered a lot already about Blast and so on. So you have 2016 in your slide that Blast was born, so to say. I know the Blast, they started building Blast in 2011. Slowly they started to build, and in 2013 they had the web version for the web client. Blast was available, and then 2015 Blast was available for Linux, and then in 2016 it came available for Horizon 7 for the Windows client. So Blast is over 10 years old now, and so we took 10 years to develop, to optimize and tune the protocol so that we can deliver the best experience. And we're not done. And we are on a mission, as our PM says, to be the best protocol in the market. So we will focus more on Blast at VMware, slowly say goodbye to PCoIP. And that's also why we had that blog out in March, because you need time. Exactly as Kevin says, you need time to make a plan, to change, and so on. So when, let's say 10 years ago, approximately 10 years ago, VMware decided to create their own protocol. Some may wonder why that was and why we did not buy Teradici or did not go forward with PCoIP. And I think the answer is simple. As a vendor, you need to be in control of your own protocol. For protocol development, you can't rely on a third party for something as important as a protocol. If you are a serious apps and desktop vendor, so to say. So if you are not, then you're always looking to a third party, what they are developing. And if you follow out of love, then, you could be in trouble. Your customers could be in trouble. So back then, I didn't work at VMware back then. I was still a consultant. I guess they either had to buy Teradici or they had to build their own protocol. That was the decision. Now, the rest is history, as they say. So PCoIP will be added to our Horizon products until 2025. And then because of support, you will have PCoIP available, supported until 2028. And we believe that Blast can handle most, depending on your use case, maybe all, but let's say 99-95% of your use cases. But we also understand that you will have some use cases that maybe you think are better suited with PCoIP. So because of that, we partner with HP. HP acquired Teradici and they created HP Anywhere. They have a PCoIP Ultra solution and we integrated it. So Kevin will go into that also more later on. So that integration that we have there is not that we will have PCoIP Ultra in our product. We will have a server-to-server integration there. You can assign desktops to users from the Horizon console. So HP Anywhere desktops can be assigned to users. So then you can have 95% or 90% of your use cases doing Horizon with Blast, and that other special use cases that need PCoIP Ultra can also be managed with from the same console. So next gen, or Horizon Cloud Next Gen, will only support Blast. Horizon Cloud V1 and Horizon 8 will support both PCoIP and Blast, but next gen we are focusing on the future already, because it's a massive job to keep two protocols in our products. And of course, you can have a protocol, you can have a great partnership, you can have a great solution, but you need amazing clients. And that's why we are happy to partner for a long time already with Tenzig. So let's take a look at some Blast improvements. I've just taken a few slides that we have internally to show about Blast. We don't have, this is our only marketing slide that we have about Blast. So Blast has optimized to work across multiple operating systems and on any device. It's a display protocol built by VMware, and it delivers end users the remote experience that they expect. VMware Horizon removes latency quality issues that have been associated with collaboration tools when used in virtual desktops. And we all know that we've done sessions together, webinars together about this. Kevin and me have done that, where we've shown non-optimized versus optimized. I think it was Zoom and Teams even that we did there. So with the optimized optimization, there was years ago with another vendor when I worked
during the COVID heydays, as I remember.
Yeah, the start of COVID. That was quite cool.
Yeah,
or a good
it
time.
was. Well, cool in one way, not in others, but
yeah, right. That's true. So with optimization packs, voice and video traffic are captured and then sent across the endpoint. So the endpoints are talking to each other, and that improves call and video quality. And Horizon provides optimized audio and video support for Microsoft Teams, WebEx, and Zoom. And then we have rich user experience and cost reduction for medium and high-end graphic applications that require 3D high-definition display. And we partner with NVIDIA, Intel, and AMD there. And then last, not least, is our integration with Workspace ONE UEM. So if you have let's say, AWS Workspaces scenario there where we also support, then those are persistent desktops, and you could manage them with Workspace ONE UEM. You could use Dynamic Environment Manager to have a personalized, context-aware desktop, and then App Volumes where you have an on-demand application delivery. Think of AppV, but then without the downsides of virtualization and streaming. So, and then if we look at Blast codec, how we introduced the Blast codec, and the Blast codec improves on adaptive and H.264 encoders by delivering sharper images and sharper fonts. And Blast codec, it operates like a video codec. Think of motion detection, but also motion vectors, and something really cool that's called interpredicted macro blocks. So basically it means if you have a video sequence and you have frames, group of images of frames. And if you look at one frame, they are partitioned into macro blocks and sub-macro blocks. And well, sounds all cool. We're not going deeper than this into this. If you have time tonight, I would really start reading up on this. It's pretty cool. So if something is going on, more precise work, so to say. So if you have a person in a picture and behind the person is just a normal background, then where the person is, you want to make sure that it's crystal clear, the whole image. So you will partition it more. You will have smaller partitions for precise work and larger ones for the generic ones. So motion detection, motion vectors, and interpredicted macro blocks, they will try to predict and act on what's going on to optimize the screen and deliver the best user experience. I found this a nice image from ResourceGate that I decided to share. So then we have the encoder switch. The encoder switch dynamically switches between either GPG, PNG codec, or Blast codec in H.264, depending on the screen content, and it works per screen. So if you have multiple screens, then it will handle that per screen. It cannot handle section of a screen. I have to be clear on that. In this mode, Blast Extreme uses Blast codec, the JPG, PNG codec, both which are optimized for text and still images. And Kevin will demo this later on. But when rapidly changing screen content, such as streaming video, is detected, then Blast Extreme automatically switches to multimedia optimized H.264. This capability not only provides a better user experience, but also will reduce the resources required for the display protocol encoding. So it's increases scalability, better performance, and in CPU, especially in CPU constrained environments. And again, you will see this in the demo. So I found a good blog when I was preparing for this webinar, and it's from GoEUC. They are amazing guys. They do a lot of tests from a lot of products. They also did a test with Blast. They took it through some tests, and I thought it would be interesting to show. I would also encourage you to go to their site and read through what they say about it. So if you have visual inspection, the quality difference between, if you look baseline and quality level 1 and 5, they are quite apparent, especially in the first line with orange letters on the green background, but also the red text on the blue background show how level 1 is very different is very different from level 5. However, the difference is considerably less noticeable in the second line with regular white text. As this is quite small, I would go to the blog that they wrote to look better at these pictures. But then if you look at the visual analyzing the results of a picture, it's hard to detect the visual difference between the image and the baseline. There are small differences. If you look beside the glass and look at the hair of the ray, it's more distinctive with level 5, but it's small. So I would go to GoVUC and read the testing, not now, after the webinar. So all you also see the difference here are very small, hence very hard to see the improvements. So we added high fidelity color support for H.264 and HAVC for full color range. And it means like you want to have white is white. White should start at 0. It didn't start at 0. It started somewhere around 16. Now it starts at 0 and it ends at 255. You want white is white and black is black. Then you have full range support. We also use better suited color matrices and primaries designed for HDTV and UHD. So again, something interesting to read about. We use BT709 and RSC 2020 instead of BT601. So we're not going deeper into this, but think of the scale of colors at your disposal, a wider range that you have available there. And if you look at that, they also did a color accuracy test at GoVUC. So you see if you go to quality level 1, there's a lot of distortion in the text shown. This is perhaps okay if you have to deliver a desktop over a very shaky connection. And connection is more important than quality. I can tell a real short story. I was designing an environment for a cable company back in, I would say, 1998 or something. And every time there was a cable error somewhere or there was darkness, that's so to say, in a village, they had to know where the cable broke down. So they had a connection over a mobile, of a really poor connection. And in that case, it would not really matter if the image was really perfect. They had to know where the cable was going under the ground so that they could find that cable fast. If you look at level 2, if you move it up one notch, we see a lot better text readability. So you can go up to 5 with these levels. And well, again, Kevin will show more. He's doing cool things here today. Now things get a little bit complicated. We have 2 main knobs to turn the experience up or down, and we have multiple personalized specific knobs to make it more personal. So first we have the Blast encoder global quality, as we just showed. It goes from 1 to 5, and it maps across all codecs, updating the QP value for H.264 Blast, etc. Then we have the Blast optimizer value. It goes from 1 to 9. We are working on something there. Something will be released pretty soon there. But 5 is the default value, and it will update the global quality level, bandwidth, slope, and max frames per second. And together they allow you to tune the session experience on a higher level without tuning all the specific knobs. But you can still tune all those specific knobs. And it's kind of fun. You have to learn how to tune a session. Yeah, it depends on what workload you have, what connection you have, what clients you have. You have to play with it, as you will see really soon. So then we always work on working on optimization for a unified communication optimization pack, and we add individual app sharing now as a feature. What's more important, we add simulcast. And simulcast is if you were broadcasting and one of your receivers was having, let's say they have a mobile, they have a bad resolution, they have a bad connection, then everybody else would be hindered by that. So with simulcast, you can every different type of receiver, so to say, will have their own stream. So connection will be great. Then we have a digital employee experience management for Horizon. That is really important because, well, nobody comes to work like I just want to work and I don't care how my connection is. Everybody hopes that they can work fast because they have to finish that sheet, they have to finish that document. So that experience in the session is really important. And you cannot ask a user what their experience is, because, well, everything in private life and weather in the morning and traffic jams will also be taken into that number. So you have to measure how fast they log on, do they have CPU constraints, how fast is the application loading, lots of things that you would like to measure. And then you have triggers and notifications, so that as an admin you can see if a certain office is having issues and if other offices are not having those issues. And if you have a trigger there, you can see like something is happening there. Maybe connection to the network is not that great, or to the cloud is not that great, and something else is running. Large print jobs are running that are hindering with the user experience, and you can cancel these kind of things and help users get a better experience. User experience management is, I think, really important, especially these days when people are working everywhere, and I think they should expect a great experience. And the last thing I want to mention is that we have an Horizon client that runs well in emulation and in M1 chip in Rosetta 2 emulation, and we are working towards an ARM native build to take more advantage of performance optimization. And we have a small poll here. I would like to know if you could please answer what is stopping you right now from using Blast Extreme instead of PCoIP. What is hindering you? I'm waiting. I think it's run a little bit. I'm pretty happy with the results already.
Good, Rob.
Yeah. So I'm happy to see that 60% of people are already on Blast. I can see the high graphics use case, exactly what I said. That's why I'm also happy that we have a partnership with HP and the client choice. I hope that the time that we given is enough to change your client choice. I understand that is a serious factor.
Yep, I think that polls well, doesn't it, with the content today? So with that, I think what we'll do is we'll go next to the demo. Now there are links here, and the slides deck will go out at the end of the webinar. But right now, I'll jump into the demo, which again, as you said, Rob, touches on to those key points you mentioned. All right, so we're now going to get to the demonstration part of the webinar. And as part of this, what we're going to do is going to recap over some of the points that Rob brought up during his slides. And in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to demonstrate a connection to VMware Horizon with Blast Extreme from a Tenzig-based endpoint. And specifically, this is the 7048QV, which supports connection to VMware through both Blast Extreme and PC over IP. And this platform features the VMware Horizon Linux client that supports things like RTAV and Teams optimization, Cisco WebEx, and really all of those sort of settings that Rob covered in terms of the Blast encoder switch, which I'll be covering as part of this demo. Now, just before we get started, again, just want to reference to some of these guides and links that are covered. So firstly, the Horizon Optimization Guide. This guide is excellent in terms of taking you through what's needed if, for example, you want to leverage the encoder switch, as well as a webinar that I did approximately 3 years ago when the encoder switch was first released. And obviously, it's moved forwards from there since and improved a hell of a lot. Now, my personal opinion is I think the encoder switch is the biggest unsung hero for Blast Extreme. It really delivers the best in terms of sort of combination between best experience for image and text in terms of say the Blast codec that can do an excellent job at displaying sort of static content, as again Rob covered during his slide deck, as well as then leveraging the motion-based codecs, specifically H.264, either with high color accuracy on or off, to deliver a great experience for motion-based content where users are playing, for example, video in session, where you can actually then reduce overall bandwidth without necessarily sacrificing image quality. And there's been further advancements again, which Rob covered in his slide, which I want to demonstrate. But again, that encoder switch, I think, as I said, it's really, in my opinion, the unsung hero of Blast Extreme. Now, again, just before we before we get into the demo, is just want to show you on the Tenzig side of things in the VMware settings, based on the fact that we're going to be demonstrating the encoder switch, what actually we have set under the hood here. So under our Blast Extreme settings, you'll notice for the demo, we're using H.264 and we're going to be forcing the high color accuracy. Now we can leverage H.265 as well, but based on the fact that we're using the switch encoder, which switches between motion and text-based codecs, that's forcing the use of H.264. And again, as covered in that optimization guide that I mentioned before. Now, let's go ahead and shadow that client. And just whilst it establishes connection to the client, just a quick disclaimer. You'll see during the demonstration here that I'm going to be playing video content. Just bear in mind that any experience that you get to see through the demonstration here is going to be hampered based on the fact that we're connecting to the Tenzig Manager server and the actual endpoint remotely, and based on the fact that we're leveraging VNC. So although inside the session is being encoded in Blast, it's then being encoded through VNC. So ultimately, any image quality and frame rate is going to be hampered by the VNC session. Let me just go ahead and connect into the VMware session. And what we're actually connecting to here is a Windows 11 based VM, latest and greatest. And just to mention as well, this particular VM that I'm connecting to does happen to have installed an NVIDIA grid. So it is leveraging vGPU. But as is covered in the optimization guide, NVIDIA grid isn't a mandatory requirement for Blast Extreme. There are some benefits to using NVIDIA grid, of course, which are outside the scope of this demo. But again, it isn't a mandatory feature. Now, just before we jump into the Blast Extreme side of things, we'll just cover very quickly Teams optimization. It's still very relevant today, with many organizations wanting to leverage Microsoft Teams or Cisco WebEx or Zoom VDI, these platforms within their VMware Horizon estates. Now, Tenzig have always been at the forefront of these optimization features. So you can see that the Teams is actually passing through local webcams, local audio, and there are specific sessions that we've done on this over the course of the last few years. And you can see that Microsoft Teams is running in this session with VMware Media optimized. So we'll leave that part there and we'll switch our attention now to the Horizon side of things in terms of the Blast Extreme encoder switch. Now, the first thing we want to dig into is the Horizon Performance Tracker. So the Horizon Performance Tracker has been around for a few years now, and it's bundled into the Horizon agent. And I always recommend that you install this because it allows you to see what the protocol is doing under the hood. So firstly, it will tell you at any one time whether you're connecting through Blast Extreme, whether you're connecting through PC over IP, and it will also give you information about the network and the transport layer, as well as then the actual encoder that's being used, in this case for Blast Extreme. So as was covered during Rob's slides, there are several different encoders that come with Blast Extreme as an overall sort of umbrella. And the actual encoder that we're going to be demonstrating here is the switch encoder. Now, again, as is covered in the optimization guide, in order to leverage the switch encoder, this is something that you have to set in the registry on the guest VM. So if we just look at that quickly, that's under HQ Local Machine Software, VMware, Blast, and the config hive. And specifically, it's the encoder switch enabled string, which has to be set to 1. So that turns on the switch encoder, but then in terms of forcing either the image-based codec or the motion-based codec, they are then set accordingly as well. So for the image-based codec, I force that by using the encoder blast codec enabled string here and setting that to 1. And then for the H.264 side of things, the motion or the video-based codec, I've actually set that through the GPO bundle. So you can see I've set H.264 to be enabled, and I've set the high color accuracy to be enabled in the GPO bundle as well. Now, again, where you're going through this in your own sort of setups, do again refer to this guide, because it will give you examples here of using combinations of things. So this one here is the Blast and H.264 encoder switch. But if you're using, say, for example, JPG or PNG with H.264, you can again get examples of what's possible from this particular guide. So really very, very handy. Now, other thing to just observe in the Horizon Performance Tracker, and this is a relatively new thing that the Performance Tracker can demonstrate and to offer, is the fact that as well as recognizing that we're using this switch encoder, it can also recognize whether it's using the text-based encoder or the video-based encoder. So at the moment, the image that we're looking at is static, and because it's static, the Blast encoder can recognize that it's best to offer that in an image-based encoder, and specifically in my case, it's going to be the Blast encoder, because obviously that's what we've set in the registry hive. Now, if we bring into view, for example, YouTube, that is then going to change the screen into being motion-based. And what the Blast encoder is then going to recognize is that it then needs to switch that over to be a video-based encoder. And you can see if we go back to the Horizon Performance Tracker, you can see it's already made that switch to video. Now, whilst it can tell you at any one time whether it's using text or video switch to actually recognize what's going on specifically under the hood. So for example, in my case, we mentioned that I'm using Blast and then H.264 high color accuracy. What we can do to sort of determine that is use the underlying log files. So, and you can see here again, it takes a moment, but you can see that encoder has switched back to text. Now, what we can do to uncover that is we can go to the session properties here, and you can recognize this client display number. And then what we can do is we can refer to the log files. And although in my case, because this is an instant clone, it's a clean VM, I've only got one session ID. But if this was a VM that had been created over a period of time, or it was an RDS-based desktop that had multiple connections, we'd need to track which session ID corresponded to this particular client session. So that's where the Horizon Performance Tracker can come in handy as well. Now, if we look at this particular log file, let's go in. It's obviously been in existence for a couple of days, but let's just go in, and the string that you're actually looking for in the log file is this reg or reg enc-switch. Now, if we go right to the bottom of that log file, again, which is at this current time, this morning's date and time, you can see the last thing it did is it switched back to the text-based encoder, which in my case is the Blast codec encoder. And if we go up that log, what we should do is then saw when it switched to H.264.444. So that's telling me that right there that the switch encoder is doing its job switching between the Blast codec for text and then switching to H.264.444 or high color accuracy when we get to motion-based content. So again, good, useful information in the log file to actually confirm what's going on under the hood. And obviously in my case, that corresponds to both the GPO that we set, the registry, and the client settings that we looked at earlier. Now, the next thing that we want to do, again, as was covered in Rob's slide deck, is the Blast encoder's global quality setting. And again, this is a really nice, recently introduced feature that for an age, there's been the possibility to set the quality levels of Blast Extreme through this GPO bundle, but you had to do it individually, and you had to do it for almost each codec. So, for example, if we look at H.264 quality, we can set H.264 quality there, and it's based on the concept of using maximum and minimum quantization parameters. And the same sort of thing applies to the Blast codec quality, where you can see Blast codec has a maximum and minimum. And where it gets quite confusing is the maximum, as it explains in the description, actually sets the upper bound for quantization, which is in effect the lowest quality setting. And the minimum QP sets the lower bound for quantization, which is in effect the best quality. And it's exactly the same for H.264 quality. So maximum is in effect the lowest quality, the highest compression, and the minimum is the best quality. Now, again, without that global quality level setting, what you in effect have to do is you have to start going through and you have to start reducing these levels down and start to see the net effect of those. But what the global quality level in effect does is it in effect reduces that maximum quality level settings of each codec. So the Blast encoder, the H.264 codec, as well as the JPEG or PNG quality level settings. And what it does is it does that in increments. So it starts off with encoder global quality level setting of 1, which is the most balanced setting, and allows you to increase that up to a maximum of 5. And by doing that at each term, what it does again is it reduces the maximum QP setting. So in effect, the least quality, and it reduces it down for, again, those different types of codecs. There's also other things that it does in the background as well. So for example, it also sets the maximum session bandwidth, kilobits, megapixel slope, as well as the maximum session bandwidth. And it does that in relation to, in effect, increasing the overall quality. So the thing to watch out for here when you are setting this is that what will happen under the hood is it will obviously change those quality settings, but what it will also do is start to potentially increase the latency and the overall bandwidth that's being consumed for that particular session. So it is something that you probably want to do in gradual stages. And one of the things to do when you are sort of playing with this is start to look at sort of images on screen to see what overall effect it has in terms of sort of reducing that compression as you move from 1 through to 5. And specifically in the case of videos as well, or anything that's motion based, again, as you start to move from 1 through 5, start to look at the video quality, with the naked eye and see what effect it has on the compression. And at the same time, what you can do is you can then refer back to the Horizon Performance Tracker to look at the bandwidth usage at any one time. And you can sort of also use this same graphical window here to again look at what you're achieving in terms of the bandwidth and the usage, and also even the encoder usage as well, to see how the encoder usage sort of varies between moving from 1 through to 5 to see the overall impact. And again, it's really, really useful. And again, it essentially takes out the guesswork that came before that encoder's global quality setting came into effect. Now, one of the things that I sort of observed, I was really interested to see what it's actually is doing under the hood to tweak it, is I took some sort of output from that same log file that we just looked at before to see what it was actually doing in the background to allow me to see again, what was happening under the hood. And what I also did as I was sort of playing with the global setting was I looked at the bandwidth usage for that same YouTube video that we just playing, and I did see a considerable gap between where we were starting out with the balance setting. I saw anywhere in the region of sort of 1 to maybe 5 megabits per second for that same YouTube video, whereas when we moved to encode a global quality level setting of 5, the bandwidth usage was much more sort of towards the higher end of the spectrum. So it was more towards sort of anywhere between 7 and 13 megabits per second. And obviously that can really range based on, you know, the type of video you're playing, whether you're playing it in full screen, of course, things like the screen resolution. So they will always vary in terms of your particular use case, but it is useful to, again, track those with the Horizon Performance Tracker to see, again, what's essentially happening in real time. One of the things I didn't mention until now, which is an important part, is the encoder switch also will encode, or the switch encoder works on a per monitor basis. So if you think about a situation where you've got perhaps 2 or maybe 4 monitors, only one of those screens is going to switch, for example, if you've got video playing on one particular monitor. And again, that's where that phrase of unsung hero comes into play, because it doesn't change the entire estate like it used to before the days of encoder switch. It changes it just for that particular screen where the video is being played, and doesn't then sacrifice the image quality for the other monitors that, again, contain perhaps Office apps or graphics. So it really is. I'm just going to pause the video there, just because we're just running a little bit short of time, and the recording is going out after the webinar, so you can play that back. And really where I cut it is where it gives you examples of those maximum quantization parameters in terms of each step, so the 1 through 5. So if you are interested in tweaking those, have a look back at the recording after the fact, and you'll see some more references there. But I think it's now time to move forwards with the presentation. So that summarized the end of Blast Extreme in terms of the updates there, and also how to tweak some of those settings. We're now going to use the opportunity to circle back to the PC over IP talk and how this has evolved over into PC over IP Ultra. And for those not already aware, the version of PC over IP that's integrated into Horizon today is based on a much earlier implementation. And whilst this was market leading for several years, the world has moved forwards with, as we've already discussed, a bigger real estate in terms of monitors, you know, specifically 4K and multi 4K at that. And formerly Teradici and now HP have been steadily evolving this protocol for their own cloud access software, as Rob touched on, and able to improve it dramatically to offer superior high frame content. And thanks to its many improvements, including its shift towards supporting a more modern CPU instruction set, and specifically AVX2, as well as those same codecs that we saw with Blast Extreme, such as H.264 and H.265. And this shift allows for extremely high performance remoting geared towards 4K support, and specifically low latency for remote connectivity. So PC over IP Ultra and cloud access software is extremely popular in some specific industries such as media and entertainment and manufacturing and construction. And the question really then is, so what about VMware? You know, how does that relate back to VMware, especially following the announcement that VMware and PC over IP in its sort of previous or current form are end of life and end of support? So for those that read that earlier blog, there was some exciting news, and Rob touched on it in his part too, that VMware and HP, formerly Teradici, continue to collaborate. And this is bringing PC over IP Ultra and the HP Anywhere solution into VMware Horizon. And as we've already touched on, there are some great use cases for adding PC over IP Ultra into VMware Horizon. So how does that integration work? The latest generation of HP Anywhere clients, or Trusted Zero clients, as you'll see in a slide in a moment, can be used to broker that connection to VMware Horizon using the Anywhere Connection Manager and Security Gateway to leverage that PCoIP Ultra remoting performance. And this allows Anywhere users to leverage the Horizon control plane and benefit from the same simplified provisioning and image management, as well as that volume support. And Anywhere client and Trusted Zero clients require the same Horizon licenses that they do if they're using Blast Extreme, but where they're using PCoIP Ultra, they will require Anywhere Pro licenses as well. So let's just quickly cover for VMware customers some of the benefits that this integration has to offer. So as mentioned, PCoIP Ultra can be used to leverage the latest updates that come in that earlier slide. So one of the key things is the true lossless support with bit exact color accuracy and the preservation of content detail. And where this, I briefly mentioned it before, where this really excels and where there is a demand is in specific verticals that I touched on before. And as we've seen in tests, PCoIP Ultra offers the highest frame rates at 4K UHD and is also extremely efficient in bandwidth consumption. Wacom tablet support is also vital in those same industries with regards to low latency that we touched on before. So think of it as such, and it was kind of covered in the earlier poll, that where Blast Extreme supports the mass use case, PCoIP Ultra can be used to then satisfy that target market, either in those verticals such as M&E or construction and design, or users with very high demands with multi 4K monitors. That's where PCoIP Ultra can satisfy that specific target. So that's really where we start to see that. I will skip this slide again. You will get it at the end, just in terms of time. Just it focuses more on those specific verticals. But I will just use the opportunity to talk quickly about the introduction of these Trusted Zero clients. And Tenzig specifically launched 2 sets of these PCoIP Ultra-based endpoints at VMware Explore back in August. And these are supportive of the HP Anywhere solution, as well as the VMware Horizon brokering part, which I'll touch on towards the end. And what we have is a dual display model in the V2200 series, and then a quad display model in the V2400 series. And these are no longer proprietary. These are based on AMD processors, and again, are designed to leverage that AVX2 support, as we touched on, which is critical for PCoIP Ultra. They do feature support for just traditional RJ45, as well as Wi-Fi and smart card readers as well. And a further benefit of the newly launched Trusted Zero clients are on specifically security. So the new Trusted Zero clients are helping IT integrate zero trust principles into their environments, both in terms of the remote display protocol encryption and MFA authentication on offer, as well as device trust and management, which is provided through the Anywhere Trust Center solution. So the Anywhere software subscription includes Anywhere Trust Center, and this is used to monitor access behavior for creating security and trust policies for trusted devices. And the Trusted Zero clients adhere to zero trust principles by organizations such as NIST. So management of Trusted Zero clients is supported via existing endpoint management tools for simple management. So for instance, if you consider a mixed estate of, let's say, Blast Extreme for your mainstream users and then PC Ultra clients from Tenzig, both types of clients can be managed under one umbrella through Tenzig Manager. And if you are interested in signing up for this technical preview, there is a landing page which is linked to there. And again, we will be sharing the slide deck at the end. So that technical preview is already available today in terms of allowing you to test the PCoIP Ultra connectivity. Again, if you, for example, one of those specific sectors or specific demands that fit into the PC over IP Ultra offering. So do check that out if that is of interest to you. And we do have just 2 more polls coming up before we finish off for some questions at the end. So the next poll is, how high percentage of your users are requiring PC over IP Ultra for their work? So I'm interested to again see this, because I think in the earlier poll we did see there was a percentage of attendees where they'd already earmarked that Blast Extreme wasn't necessarily suitable because of their high demand use case. So let's see what we're getting in here, if we can. I'm just going to let the results come in. Got some interesting results here. And I think we can push that, and that does again kind of allude to what we mentioned earlier, that it's perhaps that small percentage of users who require PC over IP Ultra for their work. Again, those high demand users. So that's really great to see. Thanks for your participation again there. And then on the last poll, it features whether you are interested in a further demo of this. Again, either the VMware test drive, the Tenzig demo, or maybe later, or just simply a no. So again, if you could just participate in that final slide, that would be, or final poll, sorry, that would be really appreciated. We'll leave that just a few moments, and then I think we have a few minutes just at the end to answer any questions. All right, so that's great. Thanks for everybody's participation. Hopefully you enjoyed the content. There was a couple of questions that came in during the webcast, which have been answered privately. And again, I touched on this. Notably, there was a couple asking for copies of the slide deck, which will be shared out afterwards. Again, feel free to ask any Q&A. I think we do have potentially a couple in here, Rob, which we can probably just reel off.
Sure. So I see one. They have a bunch of Dell Wise 340s, and they are asking if your repurposing software works with this hardware. That's a question for you.
Okay, yeah, great question. So yes, we have already engaged with some existing customers who have used the Dell Wise 3040s, and yeah, the good news is that the repurposing software does support those endpoints. The only thing just to point out is that they are sort of more of the sort of task worker entry level. So do check it that it's going to be suitable in terms of its CPU specification when it comes to, again, if, for example, if you're looking to do it with Teams optimization. But yeah, broadly, they are for sure supported. And I think the next question, probably for you, Rob, is just to be clear, until what time can we use PC over IP with our Horizon client and agent? And will PC over IP Ultra be integrated like PC over IP is right now?
Yeah, it was the main question we got at Vegas at the booth also. So you can use it until 2028, because that's when support ends. And PC over IP Ultra will be a server-to-server integration, so it will not be in the product. We will talk to their servers to assign users from the Horizon console.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's it, and that's finished us right bang on time. So I guess we can close out now. So thank you again, everybody, for taking the time out of your busy day to join us here today. We hope the information was insightful, and yeah, thanks again, and thanks very much to you, Rob, and
thank you,
everybody else involved.
See you all in Barcelona, I hope.
Yes, indeed. See you soon.
See you soon.
Great.
Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thank you, Kevin and Rob, for taking the time to speak to us today. As a reminder to our audience, you will receive a follow-up email with the on-demand link from today's webcast. To find out more about the VMUG Webcast program, please visit vmug.com and check out the webcast page. Please make sure to complete the short online evaluation that will pop up as you exit and let us know how today's session went. And from all of us here at VMUG, thank you and have a great rest of your day.